How currency became the most dangerous illusion in history. Visual close-up of a dollar bill. The camera pushes in until the ink becomes a blur. Cut to a digital chart. Glitching. Cut to ancient coins melting into numbers on a screen. Narrator quiet, dramatic. What if I told you the money in your wallet, your bank account, your savings has never truly existed? Not in the way you think. Because currency, the thing we trust, work for, fight for, and build our lives around, is one of the oldest illusions engineered in human history. An illusion so powerful that entire civilizations rose because of it. And others collapsed because they finally saw through it. Today we're going to uncover how currency became the most dangerous illusion in history, an illusion that still affects every decision you make, every price you pay, and every struggle you face. But to understand this story, we have to go back to a time before money even existed. A time when wealth was real. A time when value was something you could touch. And a time when a small shift barely noticed set humanity on a path toward a financial reality built on trust, manipulation, and eventually complete detachment from anything tangible. This is the story. Section 1. Setting the stage when wealth was real. Visual. Ancient markets. Farmers trading goods, grain being weighed, metals being smelted. Before civilization invented currency, people traded real things: grain, cattle, metals, labor. Wealth wasn't a symbol. It wasn't a number on a screen. It was actual value: food to survive, materials to build, tools to work. But this system had a problem: it didn't scale. What if a farmer needed shoes but the shoemaker didn't need grain? What if the blacksmith wanted wool but the shepherd wanted spices? What if a kingdom needed to mobilize thousands of soldiers today? As societies grew, they needed a universal measure of value. Enter precious metals, especially gold. Gold solved everything. It was durable, divisible, portable. Rare enough to be valuable, but common enough to be minted. For thousands of years, gold wasn't an illusion. It was money. It was wealth. And then something happened. Something small. Something subtle. Something that seemed harmless at first. Leaders, merchants, rulers, and eventually bankers realized. People trust gold. But they trust the idea of gold even more. And that realization changed everything. Section 2. Origins. The first trick of currency. Visual. A temple scribe recording deposits clay tablets with numbers. The earliest major shift occurred in ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. People began depositing their gold or grain in temples and royal storehouses, safe, protected places. Instead of carrying the actual goods around, they received receipts acknowledging what they owned. These receipts became the first prototype of currency. This was the first illusion. People stopped trading wealth and started trading representations of wealth. But there was a deeper twist. If a temple issued 10 receipts, could it secretly print an 11th? One that wasn't backed by real grain. At first it didn't happen. Trust was too important. But once the idea existed, it was only a matter of time. Section 3. The rise. Currency detaches from reality. Visual. Medieval Europe. Merchants exchanging notes, early banks in Italy. Fast forward to medieval Europe, the birthplace of what we now call banking. Goldsmiths held gold in vaults. They issued paper receipts for depositors. These receipts became common for transactions. Eventually, goldsmiths noticed something. Most people never came back for their gold. They used the paper instead. So the goldsmiths asked themselves, why not issue more receipts than gold? No one will know. And so they did. This was the birth of fractional reserve banking. Money was now mostly claims on wealth rather than wealth itself. It worked because people believed it worked. But belief is fragile. The system created prosperity, trade, and expansion. But it also created bubbles, panics, and collapses. Because illusions always crack. Section 4. The breaking point when currency became unlimited. Visual. 20th century footage. World wars, factories, soldiers. The biggest turning point in the history of money came in the 20th century. The world was forced to abandon the gold standard twice. World War I. Nations printed money to fund the conflict. The gold standard strained under the pressure. World War II. The economic damage was too immense. Countries needed flexibility, meaning more money creation. Finally, in 1971, something irreversible happened. The US officially ended the gold standard. For the first time in human history, the world's dominant currency was backed by nothing. No metal.
No commodity. no limitación.
Just government decree. This created a new kind of money. Fiat currency. Fiat means let it be done. Money now existed simply because governments said it did. This was the final evolution of the illusion. What began as real value became symbolic value, which became trust-based value, and finally became imagined value. Money was now infinite. Debt was infinite. Inflation became built into the system. And the illusion turned into a global architecture controlling everything from trade to wages to wars. But the system had hidden consequences. Section 5 Fallout. The world discovers the cost of the illusion. Visual 1970s oil crisis, stock market crashes, inflation charts, rising news reports. When money became unlimited, so did its dangers. 1. Inflation became permanent. Once currency was no longer tied to anything real, governments learned they could print their way out of economic pain temporarily. But each print weakened purchasing power. What your grandparents bought for $1 might cost $10 today. Not because value changed, but because the illusion stretched thinner. 2. Debt became the foundation of the global economy. Governments, companies, banks, and individuals began borrowing constantly. Because money could be created out of nothing. Debt could too. Today, global debt exceeds $300 trillion, far more than the world's actual output. 3. Wealth inequality exploded. When new money is created, it doesn't go to everyone equally. It goes to those closest to the financial system. Banks, corporations, governments, financial elites. By the time that money trickles down to ordinary people, inflation has already eaten its value. This is called the Cantillon effect, and it explains why the rich get richer while everyone else competes harder for less. For currencies lose trust slowly, then suddenly. Every major empire in history collapsed when its money lost credibility. Rome debased its silver coins. China inflated its paper money. France collapsed under the assignat crisis. The Weimar Republic printed themselves into hyperinflation. The illusion always breaks eventually. And the signs are always the same. Rising prices. Rising debt. Growing inequality. Currency devaluation. Declining public trust. Recognize the pattern. Because it's happening again today. Section 6 Failed fixes. Ever bigger illusions. Visual central banks, printing presses, quantitative easing, digital trading floors. When the illusion strained, governments didn't restore reality. They created bigger illusions to support the old ones. The gold standard fix. Abandoned. The Bretton Woods fix. Collapsed. The inflation fix. Blamed on consumers, not currency. The debt fix. More debt. The recession fix. Print money. The crisis fix. Lower interest rates. Eventually, even interest rates hit zero. So they invented quantitative easing, digital money printing. And when printing wasn't enough, new concepts emerged. Modern monetary theory. Unlimited deficit spending. Negative interest rates. Government bond buybacks. Digital currencies controlled by central banks. Each solution pushed the illusion further from reality. Each one postponed the consequences. Each one increased the instability. Because you cannot fix an illusion with a bigger illugio. Section 7 Modern parallels. The illusion reaches its peak. Visual digital currencies, cryptocurrency charts, inflation headlines, stock bubbles, housing bubbles. Today, the illusion is stronger and more fragile than ever. 1. Most money exists only as numbers. Over 90% of global currency isn't physical. It's digital entries on bank servers. 2. Banks don't hold your deposits, they loan them out. If every customer tried to withdraw their money today, the system would collapse by tomorrow. Banking only works because the illusion of stability holds. 3. Inflation has become normalized. We expect prices to rise every year. But rising prices are not natural. They are a feature of the currency illusion. 4. The stock market is detached from reality. Companies can lose money for years and still be worth billions because markets float on expectations, not fundamentals. 5. Housing is no longer shelter, it's financial speculation. Global housing prices have moved further from wages than at any other time in human history. 6. Wealth is no longer saved, it's borrowed. Young generations aren't building wealth. They're inheriting debt. 7. Cryptocurrencies challenge the illusion. For the first time, people are voluntarily moving to decentralized money. Some see crypto as the future. Others see it as another illusion. But one thing is certain. The trust in traditional currency is weakening. And history shows what happens when trust disappears. Section 8. The pattern history repeats itself. Visual timeline showing cycles of collapse across empires. Every empire follows the same financial life cycle. 1. Real money. 2. Representative money. 3. Bank-issued credit. 4. Government-issued fiat currency. 5. Overprinting. 6. Inflation. 7. Debt crisis. 8. Loss of trust. 9. Collapse or reset. And we are living in stage 7, rapidly approaching stage 8. Not because people are greedy. Not because politicians are reckless. Not because bankers are corrupt. But because the system itself is built on an illusion that must constantly expand to survive. Currency must grow. Because debts must grow. Because economies must grow. Because expectations must grow. But nothing grows forever. Not even illusions. Final section. Takeaways. Warning. Call to actions. Visual calm, slow motion footage, subtle music. Narrator steady, thoughtful. So what do we take from all this? Takeaway 1. Currency is not wealth. It's a placeholder, a symbol, a tool. Real wealth is skills, assets, resources, relationships, knowledge, time. Currency is only useful as long as the illusion holds. Takeaway 2. The system is not stable, it's managed. Inflation, interest rates, debt cycles. These are not natural forces. They are interventions keeping the illusion in place. They work until they don't. Takeaway 3. The future will reward those who see the illusion early. Every financial transformation in history rewarded people who understood the shift, adapted early, moved toward real value. Whether it's technology, decentralized money, tangible assets, or simply financial literacy, the future belongs to the informed. Final warning. We are living through the largest monetary experiment in human history. A world where money is unlimited, debt is unlimited, and trust is the only thing holding everything together. But illusions crack. And when they do, they crack suddenly. The real question is not if the system will change. It's how and when, and whether we'll be prepared when it happens. Call to action. If you learned something today, if this story opened your eyes, if you want more deep breakdowns on money, history, and the systems shaping your life, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this video with someone who still believes money is what it seems. Because the more people understand the illusion, the harder it becomes to control them with it. Thanks for watching. Stay curious and stay aware.